Social media can destroy the soul. Social media is about getting as many likes as possible. And the more immersed you become in social media, the more your self-worth becomes attached to how many likes you get. As Sherry Turkle of MIT, who's one of the prominent researchers on the social effects of social media, so she wrote once that for people on social media, the idea is, I share, therefore I am. And when everything becomes dependent on what other people think of you, you can change your identity 100 times. Some influencers take ridiculous, extreme, dangerous positions. They do unusual things just in order to please their followers and get as many likes as possible. Judaism is really not about popularity. In Jewish history, we've spent long stretches of time when we've been extremely unpopular. And there's also a realization that the willingness to accept unpopularity, the willingness to say, I'm not going to do what's popular, actually strengthens the soul. There was yeshiva at the end of the 19th century in the town of Novorossiysk, which is currently in the Belarus. And Novorossiysk had this yeshiva that studied Musar, studied ethical uplift and personal perfection. And some of the more extreme students in that yeshiva, they had a spiritual exercise that they would use to teach themselves not to think about what others think of them. So what would they do? So one day they would go into the butcher shop and say, can you sell me a hammer? And the butcher would laugh, and everybody in the store would laugh. And then they would go to the hardware store and say, can you sell me a chicken? And there too, they would be met with laughter and derision. But the point of the exercise, although it's a little strange, was to teach the student, don't think about what others think of you. Think only about what you think of yourself. Now, this lesson is a lesson that comes out very clearly in the Torah reading. As the Jews are going to freedom, they're told to bring a Passover sacrifice. So what are they doing? So as the 13th century French rabbi in commentary to the Torah, the Chizkuni, writes, what they're going to do is they'll take a lamb, which is the Egyptian god, slaughter it, put its blood on the door, and then roast it whole outdoors as all the Egyptian neighbors can smell and see the barbecue and understand exactly what you're doing. But the point is that if you're going to be independent, you have to be willing to be unpopular. This is a lesson that was important to the slaves leaving Egypt. It's an incredibly important lesson for those who live in the era of social media. You will lose your soul if all you do is pursue popularity. What you need to do first is know who you are and know what your values are before you look for the likes of others.